Welcome to another YouTube video, and today we're going to be talking about how to close the gap between where you are right now and where you want to be. Whether it's your professional life or your personal life, whether it is that you want to acquire wealth or you want to find your forever person, this formula actually applies to everything, and it gives you actionable steps that you can actually follow in order to get to that desired reality. I think that one of the most important things when it comes to facing adversities in life is also understanding why is it that we are in the place that we are right now. As in, why is it that even though you feel like you have all this potential, even though you feel like you can do all those great things, you're actually not quite there yet. And I think it always comes down to one of those two things. Either you know what you need to be doing in order to get wherever it is that you want to get, but you don't actually know how to get yourself to do those things that you need to be doing, or you are doing the things you're supposed to be doing in order to get what you want, but in the meantime, you don't quite know how to handle yourself. You don't quite know what to do in the meantime, so you end up sabotaging your own progress. So to make it a little bit more concrete, what would that look like on a professional level? Let's say, for example, you're saying, I want to become a creator. I want to do social media, or I want to start a side business. I want to be an entrepreneur. Or you're saying, you know what, I just want to get a promotion where I'm currently at. And you just keep saying, well, I don't know where to start, I don't know how to do it, I don't know this, I don't know that. That isn't quite accurate. A more accurate representation of reality would be that you actually do know the things that you need to be doing in order to get there, but you also end up thinking that it actually takes a lot of time and that it actually takes a lot of effort and that you need to do all those things that look so big and so difficult, and just your dream is quite far. I think this is the perfect moment to address that a lot of people end up confusing the notion of something being doable and the notion of something being easy. So in that context, on the professional context, if I told you you can send 100 DMs every single day, or 100 cold pitches, or you can shoot content every single day, or you can stay an extra hour at work and ask for more responsibility in order to get that promotion. All those things are doable. The problem with those things is that they're not actually easy. They require a big amount of effort and commitment on our side. And then a lot of times at this moment of despair, we end up confusing whether something is doable and whether something is easy. And then in a relationships context, it gets even more complicated, because I feel like nowadays people, they end up focusing so much on this perceived scarcity of good people. And talking specifically for women, women end up focusing too much on this perceived scarcity of good men. So a lot of times when I post about my life on the internet and my lifestyle, my life with my partner, and the treatment that I'm getting and how we basically live our lives and how he treats me, I get so many women on my DMs or like sending me emails and lovely messages and all that saying, well, I love that and I would want to have that for myself, but you know, men are not like that anymore. Or, you know, there's a lot of comments along the lines of, well, I wish I had that, but men like these is just the 1%. Or I wish I had that, but that doesn't really exist where I live, or men are not like that in my country. And while I do understand and I do acknowledge that sometimes there are some objective difficulties depending on where you are, depending on culture, depending on also like the way you grew up and all that, I think the problem with saying that is, one, that you're acting from a scarcity mindset, which to begin with, it creates a lot of problems and it creates this tunnel vision on what the possibilities are out there. But the second thing is that before focusing on the actual adversities and the actual obstacles that you're going to have to face, is to ask yourself the question, even if I found that person right now, even if I had an array of men like that right now in front of me, am I the woman that can attract that person and that can keep that person? Am I the woman that actually exudes femininity and softness? And am I dressing the way I'm supposed to be dressing? Am I acting the way I'm supposed to be acting? Do I know how to be a woman of value in order to stand next to this man of value that I have always dreamed for myself? So on both cases, both personal and professional, what we end up doing is like reaching this kind of like moment of agnosticism where we just go like, you know what, it's just not worth it anymore. I don't know how to do it. I just don't know how to move forward. And we just think that everything is black and we end up giving up because we just can't see the way forward. So what I'm going to do right now is give you some actionable steps that you are going to have to follow in order to just get out of that loophole of sabotaging thoughts that just keep you in a rut and just keep you back from bridging the gap between your reality and your desired reality. Step number one, I think it would definitely be to have a plan. Whether we're talking at a professional level or a personal level, a relationships level, it's very important to understand what is it that I can do in order to get where it is that I want to do, instead of just thinking of the end result. And what I mean by that is that so many times what's holding us back is that our aspirations or our dreams just look so big and so far and so unattainable. And to an extent, they should feel like that, because if you don't dream big, then you're never going to get to that place. But what I'm trying to say is that you need to break it down into smaller steps. So let's take the professional context, and let's take again the context of becoming a creator on social media. So if you start from a point of view where you're saying, well, I do want to do social media, but the actual problem right now is that I don't know how to talk in front of the camera. I don't know what topics I should touch on. I don't know how to edit, or, just write down what are the actual problems that you're facing right now, and then create a plan to face those difficulties and to actually overcome them. And what I mean by that, so in your case, it would look like saying, okay, I am going to be doing 2 hours of research every single day on the topics that I want to talk about. I'm going to look into the content that other creators are producing on those sort of themes and topics. And I'm going to create a list of ideas of topics that I want to talk about. Next step, it would be, okay, I'm not really comfortable speaking in front of the camera, other than just practicing and saying, okay, 30 minutes every single day, I'm going to practice talking to the camera. Another thing you can do to make even that step a little bit more doable is creating scripts. So instead of just opening a camera and starting speaking to it, since it's already a difficulty of yours, you're going to have to take the time, 1 hour per day, 15 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, it doesn't matter, whatever you can allocate, to create scripts that you can actually follow when you talk to the camera, so you can actually get better. And then you're going to start filming more, and then you're going to spend some time to learn editing techniques, watch videos, get a course, get a resource that can actually teach you how to do things. And now this big goal of yours that just seemed so unattainable before because you had all those problems just looks a little bit more doable because you broke that goal into small steps. Once again, it is important to always remind yourself that the only way to actually get better at things is to actually do things and not to think more things. I've heard this quote quite some time ago, and it was really life-changing for me, that thinking plus thinking doesn't equal improvement. Action plus action equals improvement. Now, on a relationships, for example, context, what that plan would look like would be, okay, I have a very good vision, a very good idea of the person that I actually want to end up with. I know this man needs to do this, and that, and then he's going to be treating me this way and that way and that way. And you just have the perfect, let's say, idea of how that man is. Now, what you have to do, instead of saying, okay, where am I going to find this man? Which place do I need to hang out? Or I don't know, what dating apps do I need to be on? And well, I'm not saying don't do your research on those things. The most important thing is to ask yourself, what women is it that I need to be in order to magnetize and attract that person and just bring him in my life, but also keep him, if that makes sense. Because if you yourself are not the high value women that this other person is going to look for, then even if you find that person is not going to actually stay in your life. So what that would look like for you in terms of like making a plan is saying, okay, what is it that I can improve about the way I dress? Can I dress more elegantly? Can I work on the way I do my makeup? Can I work on my body? Should I eat healthier? Should I exercise? So just basic things that they look like they're obvious, but actually so many people don't take the time to get the basics right. Now, step number 2, now that you actually have your plan, which is all those little stepping stones, all those little steps that you're going to follow in order to bridge that big gap that you perceive right now between where you are and where you actually want to get, the next thing is to actually get yourself to do those small things. And the reason why I'm saying get yourself to do those things is because, once again, so many times we know exactly what we need to be doing, but we end up not doing it because our brain is not designed to do things that are hard. Our brain is not designed to propel us to do things that are difficult, things that stress us, things that just don't make us feel amazing. And while you will end up feeling amazing when you actually have this thing done, the thing that we have to focus first is on getting it done. And for this practice, I'm going to mention one of my favorite think leaders, Mel Robbins, that she talks about the rule of 5 seconds, which basically means that we all have 5 seconds between acting on the things that we know that we should be doing and actually doing it. So basically how that works is that you are about to do the thing that your little plan says you have to do now. So your brain at that moment is going to sabotage you and say, well, you're not ready yet, or you don't have that info, or maybe you can do it later. And it's just going to keep you, or try to find ways to keep you from doing it. What you need to do at that moment is interrupt this self-destructive loop of thoughts and just get to do it. So you're going to use the rule of 5 seconds. So you're just going to count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you're just going to do it, because by counting these 5 seconds, you actually reprogram your brain. You just focus on something else and not on your destructive thoughts, and you just move towards action instead of just putting it off because you can do it another day, or you're not ready yet, or this or that. And I think it's also quite important to remember that the more you do things, the more your brain gets addicted to doing those things, exactly because they turn from something that's stressful and something that doesn't bring you satisfaction to something that brings you satisfaction. Because despite how much you feel like you don't want to do something before you actually do it, you will never regret doing it. And you will never regret having this feeling of, I did it, I fulfilled my promise towards myself, and I just made it. So you kind of create this kind of addiction that makes you naturally an overachiever, because by doing more things, you just feel like more fulfilled, more capable, your skills get better, you're just more accountable towards yourself. And this is something that then just comes naturally. And now, step number 3, as I said before, most of the times is either we don't do the things we know that we need to be doing, or we do the things that we know that we need to be doing, but we end up sabotaging ourselves because we don't know what to do in the meantime. And when I say, what are you going to do in the meantime, I want to introduce the idea of detachment. And I think this really hits home. This is very personal to me because I am also someone that has struggled a lot with it. I have always been an overachiever, if you will, in the sense that I always kept doing the things that I thought can move me forward. But I'm also a person that is like naturally anxious, and I just was always obsessed with progress and just see how this is going, and did this perform well? Did this do well? Did this actually get me where I wanted to get me? And while it's good to keep yourself accountable and just look at your progress and all that, you also have to remember that progress takes time. And because it takes time, you need to let things keep happening. You need to keep doing the action so you can actually capitalize on the compound interest of those accumulated actions. So what I mean by that is, if you film content for 1 week, or if you do diet or look after what you're eating for 1 week, or if you dress elegantly for just 1 week, even though it's amazing that you managed to do that for 1 week, you're not actually going to see results in 1 week. And the problem is that most people, what we end up doing is saying, well, I've been doing this for a week or for a month and it's not really working, so I don't know if I want to keep doing that. And that's where the idea of finding something to do in the meantime and detaching comes in. So you have to do the things that you said you were going to do and the things that you need to do, and you have to do them at scale. So you have to continue doing them and just not obsessing over them. I mean, analyze the data of what it is that you're doing, but don't obsess over them, because things take time. So you have to find things to distract yourself in the meantime. So that, for example, could look like something like the following. So me personally, when I have an idea of what it is that I want to be doing today. Let's say it's filming and I have to film something, and then, you know, my normal old self, let's say, would then obsess about seeing how will that perform when I post it, or is it good? Even if I don't post it, I will just go through the footage and be like, oh, okay, is it good enough? Did I do good enough? Should I need to redo it? Should I do that? Should I do this? So I don't do this anymore. So what I do is I say, okay, I'm going to do the things that I need to do, and then right after that, I'm going to do something very satisfying for me. So that could be anything from hanging out with my dog, or going shopping, do my nails, running a bath, reading one of my favorite books, watching Netflix. So I just do the actions that I said I will be doing, and then immediately afterwards I'm doing something very rewarding, because I want to detach from what I did and the progress of it. And this way, the whole process of doing it again and again and again and becoming a little bit more patient at a time becomes a little bit more bearable and a little bit more enjoyable. And the reason why that is important is because you cannot do something for a very, very long time unless you are actually enjoying the process of doing it. And lastly, I think the most important thing to remember is that you're only one decision away from bridging the gap between where you are right now and where you actually want to be. Because that one single decision leads to another decision, and then another decision, and then another decision. And then one day you have actually made it. But the only thing that moved you forward in each one of those steps was that one decision. If you actually like this video and you want to hear more from me on femininity, personal development, and leveling up, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and I will see you next week.